Hello, welcome back. Today's video is about unconditional love and curiosity. And it's a video idea that came to me this morning sitting on the balcony, sniffing my square of dark chocolate, sniffing it and then eating it. Don't just sniff it, I also eat it. And I put a little sprinkle of sea salt on it this morning and I had it with my coffee. And it was really, really good. And I was sitting out there on the balcony and it was a bit cloudy at like 7:20. And I was meditating on what could I talk about today. And the title of the video came flooding through my system as it always does, which is Unconditional Love and Curiosity. And this is something that I've been speaking about a lot recently on my posts, in my group, to my friends. Unconditional love and curiosity is the foundation of our connection as humans. And it's taken me a long, long time to get here to understand that that's the best way to view the world. In my opinion, unconditional love and curiosity is the best way to look out into the world and also internally. It's took me so long to get here and so many mistakes, and well, there is no such thing as a mistake, there are no mistakes. So many twists and turns on the path and so many challenges in order to get to a place where I can view myself with unconditional love and curiosity and those around me, and particularly those around me. Because one of the things that manifested in my childhood and in my early adulthood, and certainly still does from time to time, I have to keep check on it, and it's something that I've been working on for about 6 years, is a superiority complex that is rooted in shame. So it's rooted in an inferiority complex. So superiority and inferiority are two sides of the same coin, and they're both rooted in the energetic emotional frequency of shame. And we either internalize shame and we turn it into an inferiority complex. It's quite difficult for a Scottish person who rolls their R's to say. And so we internalize shame and we turn it into an inferiority complex where we think that we're not as good as everyone around us. Or we turn it into a superiority complex where we judge everyone around us and place ourselves on top of the hierarchy. Now, women place themselves on top of the hierarchy by trashing the reputation of other women. This is something that Jordan Peterson talks about, and I'm in agreement with. That with women, and I will give a caveat to this, with women there's generally not a threat of violence. So in a group of females, it's not the biggest and strongest female that's at the top of the food chain in the same way that it would be with men. So with men, it's the alpha male, it's the biggest and strongest. That would be the leader of the group, because there's a threat of violence, and if shit hits the fan, the biggest and strongest is going to be the winner at the top of the food chain. It's not so with women, because women don't go to violence in the same way that men do. And the caveat I'm going to give you there is I grew up in a very working class town in the west coast of Scotland where it wasn't unknown for women to be violent. I remember years ago working in a mobile phone shop when I was in my early 20s when my oldest daughter was a baby, and a manager coming from another store, I think came from like Edinburgh or Glasgow, a nicer part anyway, and we took him out, the staff in our store took him out for a night out in Greenock, and we were in a bar in Greenock and two women began fighting, and one of the women took her shoe off her stiletto heel and beat the other woman with it. And the guy who was not from the area was just like absolutely gobsmacked about this, and like just so stunned that he saw two women fighting inside the bar and then outside the bar. So violence in women and in men. I'm not saying this to trash my hometown. I'm just saying that it's a fact, right? That was a fact when I was growing up, was that women were just as violent as men. Not just as violent, but they certainly would have displayed violence in a way that in other areas might not have been so common. And I think because of that, Scottish women they don't tend to arrange hierarchies. Well, certainly when I was growing up, they didn't arrange hierarchies in the same way that other communities would amongst women. But predominantly, women arrange hierarchies by reputation. And I mean, that reputation could be rooted in anything, how good a mother you are, how good you are in business, how good a person you are, how not good a person you are. And we arrange these hierarchies either externally through the medium of gossip, which for sure for a huge part of my life I took part in, or in our minds we'll do it in thought. And it's a defense mechanism that is rooted in fear and shame, and it's a reaction to make us feel safe about ourselves and to put ourselves at the top of the food chain. We have to make ourselves better than other people. This is something that I've witnessed in coaching women, and also I've had women say it to me, like when they've gone through the healing process. You know, I've always put other people down in my head. I've always like come up with ideas why other women particularly were um, annoying or not as intelligent. You know, someone very close to me said it recently about me, and we were able to have this really candid conversation where she said to me, you know, I've been having these thoughts where I'm like, she's really annoying me. She's behaving like this, she's doing that. And she was like, and then I sat with it and I meditated on it, and I realized that it's me just trying to make myself feel better and trying to make myself feel like I'm in some way above you so that I can feel safe. And that if I create this distance between the two of us where I look at you and I project annoyance or distance, or you're not performing in the way that I want you to perform, then I don't have to be so close to you. And if I don't have to be so close to you, then I won't get hurt if we're no longer close, or if something happens in the friendship, which has happened to me in the past. And it was like this huge eye-opening conversation that the both of us were crying in a park talking about it. And it was really emotional and raw amongst two women to be able to say all our lives, you know, we've been afraid of fitting in and been afraid of being cast out. So we create a hierarchy within our own system and the manifestation of thoughts that we are superior to other people. Therefore, it's almost like I don't need them anyway because I'm better than that, I'm better than this. And I mean, it's something that I have been working on and off for 6 years. Like when I first entered therapy, and I was like, you know, I can be quite mean, I can be quite toxic about other people, specifically other women. And one of the reasons for that is, and I'm not sitting here to make excuses for myself or to downplay any of my own behaviour, but just to step outside of it and just be able to see that I behaved in these ways. And of course, there's always reasons why we behave in certain ways. And it doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that we should continue to do it. But if we could, first of all, acknowledge it. So, someone I know, his favourite quote is a consciousness of wrongdoing is the first step to salvation. I think it's Seneca. It's a Seneca quote. I don't know Seneca personally. It was someone else that says it quite a lot. Um, quotes him, so plagiarises Seneca. But I think he does say that it was Seneca that said it. I don't think he claims it to be his own. Um, and if he does, then I've just outed him for that. But a consciousness of wrongdoing. This is how these videos go, right? So I start talking about something, I get really into the flow of it, and then I just get down a wee tangent, down a wee side street, got to bring myself back up. So consciousness of wrongdoing is the first step to salvation. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know. For a long, long time, I would create hierarchies inside my own system a bit around women. And I think one of the main reasons, if I reflect on it and I look back in my life and give it a hermeneutic narrative, one of the main reasons is because I was molested in childhood by an adult, that I was placed on a hierarchy. I was placed higher up on a hierarchy than what I should have been as a 10-year-old child. And because of that, that was what kept me safe within the tribal unit. And because of that, I then created hierarchies with women all my life. Like I had a superiority complex where I had to put them down to make myself feel better because I was absolutely drenched in shame because of what happened to me as a child. So because I was carrying so much shame in my system, instead of internalizing it in an inferiority complex, I externalized it in a superiority complex and projected it onto the world around me, predominantly women. And when I started in therapy for that, what happened was I was able to acknowledge and process and work on changing the superiority complex, and what crept out of the shadow, an inferiority complex. And all of a sudden, I heard these whispers in my coming from my subconscious out into the manifestation of my thoughts of you're not good enough, you're not good, you're a terrible mother, you're a shit coach. Why would people listen to you? And for years and years and years, I couldn't hear this, but it was all in the background, it was all there. But what I did was I created a hierarchy in my conscious mind where I made myself the safest in the room by making myself the most intelligent in the room, or the person with the strongest opinions in the room, or the most glamorous in the room. Like I did all these things to try and keep myself safe because in my childhood, I felt extremely unsafe because of things that happened to me. It's not an excuse. It's not a poor me. I went out into the world and caused chaos because chaos happened to me. It's a taking back of my power, taking back of my responsibility, and understanding that there's there's no there's cause and effect of every single thing that happens in our lives. I am very blessed in that I had these experiences that enabled me to access grace for the people that hurt me, in particular the person that molested me, the person that raped me. I'm able to access grace and forgiveness and unconditional love and curiosity for these men. It took longer to access grace, unconditional love, curiosity, and forgiveness for myself, for the things that I have done, the chaos that I've caused in the world, the toxicity that I've brought out into people around me. And it's something that I still work on. It's not a light switch moment where you just like, oh, I forgive this person for hurting me, and then you just go on with your life, and I forgive myself for the way I reacted. So you just go on with your life. It's a spiral that I go up and down many, many times. Um, when I feel shame in my system, I have to be aware that I'm either externalizing it in the form of hierarchy thoughts, which come along like conversations with people in my head, or an observation of someone and think, well, why do they do that? I wouldn't do that like that. And then I catch myself and I'm like, oh, where are you vibrating at when you're having those thoughts of hierarchy? Why are you not looking at that situation or that person with unconditional love and curiosity? Because that is the foundation of everything that we have in order to have a clear connection with other people. Recently, and I think I might have uh, wrote a post about this on LinkedIn, where I was meditating and I heard, see yourself in every saint and every sinner. And that was when I first was consciously able to remember the face of the man that raped me. And I was being called to ask to see myself in him and to understand that what is in one is in the whole. And if I had been born in his body and had all of his life experiences and had his DNA and his conditioning and his ancestral trauma and everything that he had in that moment, then would I have done the same thing, is the question that I have to ask myself. And I believe that I would have, because I would be him, okay? And he did it. That's the thing. So it's like, I can't argue with reality. This is what this man did. That's a personal narrative, a personal perception, a personal opinion that I have on humanity and how we function and how we progress through the evolutionary how we progress through evolution as humans. I've had a lot of challenges over things like that when I've said them, in person in conversation. I mean, you have a conversation with me in a coffee shop and it's getting deep. Um, well, I'm gonna caveat that it's either really, really deep or on things like, the evolution of human consciousness, or it's really, really silly, right? It's like the most ridiculous, silly conversations ever. And I like to oscillate between the two, and I think that's pretty good balance. Um, so I was called by God, by the highest energy we have on this planet, my inner voice, to see myself in every saint and every sinner. And so if I am able to look at the people who have sinned against me and see myself in them, then I also know that I have sinned against others and I'm able to see saints within me, right? So it's like we're all on this spectrum of evolution where we're down here as the sinners and sometimes we're up here as the saints, and the most that we can hope for is consciousness of wrongdoing and able to step towards salvation, which is the forgiveness of ourselves and of others. And I believe that the foundation of that is unconditional love and curiosity. And what I mean by that is whenever I'm placed in any situation where I feel any sort of negative emotion, that is an emotion that's lower down on the table of consciousness, which would be shame, fear, grief, anger. And then the first thing I do is get curious about it. I ask myself, I ask my inner voice, God, why is this being shown to me? Why is this happening? What have I got to learn from it? And then I give a lot of unconditional love, firstly to myself, because I carry all the codes for each emotion within my own energetic system. So we're always projecting either our conscious thoughts or our subconscious thoughts onto the world round about us. And the first thing that I can always ask for, that I do always ask for, is unconditional love for myself, unconditional curiosity for myself, forgiveness for myself, salvation for myself, because only when I have it for myself can I then take it out into the world. Because for a long time I would forgive the people round about me, but I berated myself, or I was unable to forgive myself. Well, I still carry the codes of shame within my energetic system and they're repressed. But what I'm doing is I'm internalizing them instead of externalizing them. I think there's like a Chinese proverb or Chinese quote, or it might not be Chinese, I might have just made that part up. And it's like something along the lines of first we blame others, then we blame ourselves, and then we realise no one's to blame. And blame is a shameful emotion. It's the same shameful perception. The other end of the spectrum of blame is responsibility. And it's understanding that we're responsible for our actions, that they have cause and effect, that the universal law of karma will always see to it that we will, in essence, pay the tax for the things that we have done in life, that we have done consciously or unconsciously, to the detriment of either ourselves or those round about us. I do believe that. I believe that we can repent for the things that we've done. We can seek salvation, but only when we have consciousness of wrongdoing. And the understanding that every single person on this planet is vibrating and operating at a different level of consciousness. No two same people have the same level of consciousness. And I don't mean that levels of consciousness go like this, although I know that some people do because they correlate it with the table of consciousness and the table of emotions, but rather that it goes like this, like that. It goes out and wide and back down, and it oscillates and it spirals in and out and in and out. And no two people on this planet perceive the world in the same way. And so therefore no two people on this planet have the same level of consciousness. We don't have the same coding, the same programming as each other. Like we just don't. We're all essentially 8 billion computers that have been offered different programs, and the connection that we can make to each other's programs is through the highest vibration that we can have, which is unconditional love, and curiosity, which is let's ask questions about what's happening here rather than just perceive and project and have a perception of. Let's ask questions. Let's delve deeper, first with ourselves and then with the world round about us. So my point of this video is to first of all hold myself up to the light, to understand for myself that I had to have unconditional love and curiosity for myself, for all the things that I've done wrong or right, and then for the people round about me. And it was easier to apply grace to the people round about me than it was to apply it to myself. And I think that that's correlated with the superiority inferiority complex. So recently I was talking to someone in a coffee shop, and I was like, right, I've got a superiority inferiority complex. I like being right and I'm highly manipulative at times. So the best thing that I can do is have people round about me that are able to point it out to me. So if someone round about me points something out to me, then what I have to do is go and meditate on it and not immediately be on the defence and immediately be like, well, this person said this about me, so they must be right. It's like go and meditate on it and think, well, what if they're 50% right and 50% not right? Then what 50%, what they said is 50% true, then how can I take that information and that knowledge and go and use it to expand my levels of consciousness to become better in the world, to become a better person and more in service to those round about me. And the consciousness that I have these codes within my program, and that most people do, because it's actually a survival technique. It keeps us alive, especially as women. We have to be manipulative because we don't have brute strength to get us out of situations. So we have to use, and a lot of times we've had to use manipulation. It's not a bad thing. It keeps us alive as long as we can be aware of it. Because if you were in a situation where you had to get out of it and you had to negotiate your way out of it, then you want those negotiation and manipulation skills to be able to get you out of it. But we take these codings of our program and we apply them into everyday life, or we use them against the people that we love, then what more could we ask for other than a consciousness of that, of an ability to see it, and if we can't see it, to have people round about us that will show us it. So that's all I can ever ask for from God, from myself, is give me unconditional love and curiosity for myself, and then please give me for the people round about me, because my vessel that I carry these codes in is the thing that I use to perceive the world round about me. So if I perceive the world with unconditional love and curiosity, but I don't perceive myself with that, then there's a distortion in my blueprint, there's a distortion in my codes and my program, because I can't look out there and see something that I'm not carrying internally for myself. The shame would still be within my system, and I need to acknowledge that, process it, and let it go. So first of all, I ask for unconditional love and curiosity for myself, and then I ask for it for the world round about me. And the way that I got to that was through an act of grace, an act of grace that was bestowed upon me by something outside of myself. I believe it was the hand of God that enabled me to view the people that have hurt me in a way that I could see what was going through their systems that enabled that to happen, right? Now, that's just my perception of it. That might not be true, but my perception of it is, okay, well, the person who molested me was also molested in childhood, so it's generational trauma that's gone down. The man who raped me, I don't know enough about, but all I can do is offer grace and forgiveness and unconditional love and curiosity for someone that committed a crime like that against me as a very young woman. I was called to do that by something outside of myself that enabled me to ask the questions of myself and of the people who had hurt me. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why it happened. I don't claim to have any superiority or inferiority around it. I just know that my life got infinitely better the more that I was able to apply this perception and this narrative to the world, which is the perception and narrative of unconditional love and curiosity. And the other thing with that is I'm constantly being tested on it all the time. I'm constantly being tested to make sure that I am still applying unconditional love and curiosity to things. So just yesterday I had a conversation with someone I love very much who said things that made me annoyed, made me agitated, made me angry. And I was like, okay, what do I do? I go and I sit down and I have a meditation on how can I apply unconditional love and curiosity to this situation that's happening, because it's triggering something inside of me. And that's the main criteria, is that it's inside of me and it's coming up to be seen, to be processed, to be acknowledged, to be released, to be let go, so that I can then view this situation with unconditional love and curiosity and be in contact with the highest energy within myself, God, and my inner voice and my intuition and my body, and go into the sea and go into a bath and get back into my body and say, okay, what's the solution to this situation? Because if there's a problem, there's always a solution. The solution comes from the wisdom of your body, and that's where we apply unconditional love and curiosity in the first instance. The title of the video is Unconditional Love and Curiosity, and I believe that that is the foundation of our connection to every single other human on this planet. But first and foremost, it's our connection to ourselves, our inner being, the God within us, and our personality that we created to stay safe in the world. And anything other than that is rooted in the emotions that are sitting at the bottom of the table of consciousness, the bottom of the table of emotions, which is shame, fear, grief, anger. All of these are coming up to be seen, to be released, to be let go, so that the solutions to every problem that we have in our lives, in society, can all be found through the wisdom of the body rather than through the subconscious projection of stagnant emotions onto the world round about us. I was going to say, I hope that that makes sense, but I'm working very actively on not saying that and not asking people if what I say makes sense, because that's inferiority complex within me coming up to the surface to be seen. And I like to keep myself safe by coming out with these things and then saying, does that make sense? Does that make sense? And friends have pointed it out to me, you don't have to ask that. You don't have to ask if things make sense. They either do or they don't. And if people watching or listening or reading don't understand it, then that's okay. You just, if they say it to you, then you can then think of a different way to express yourself, but you don't have to keep asking, does that make sense? It's a little inferiority complex, a little inferiority complex habit that I have, that I have, some people have very kindly pointed it out to me, and I'm working very hard on not doing it. So every video that I make, I want to end it with this, I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? And can you see the child in me that's trying to make myself feel safe? So I'm not going to say that at the end of this video. I'm going to say, it makes sense to me. And that's why I'm here creating these videos, to impart stories and theories and thoughts that I have had over the past 9 months when I've gone through a very traumatic, very chaotic time in my life, and come out the other side of it with some knowledge that I would like to share with everyone. And if it makes sense to me, for sure. And I hope you enjoyed listening, and I will see you all soon. Bye.